For years, you've always known Apple for premium products that you don't have to think about. They just do their thing. But also not very friendly prices. But now a very drastic change is happening. A change that will for sure not leave Apple the same company that we know. Because we've seen Apple over the recent years crumble their way to the budget category. From the Apple Watch to the iPhone, and even surprisingly, the MacBook. Something we never thought would happen is now a $600 MacBook. A brand new MacBook designed by Apple for $600. And not just that, there's a $600 iPhone now, and a designed iPad with a flagship chip. Even the Apple Watch has a budget still. This is the same company that once charged $1,000 for a monitor stand. So clearly something has changed, and Apple, the company known for making expensive tech, is suddenly building a product for people who would not even look at Apple. But the real question isn't even what they're doing. It's why? Because it's not just one product we're looking at. This has become kind of a pattern. First, the MacBook Neo. Apple announced it in March 2026. The price, $600. And the interesting part is what's inside. Instead of a traditional back shape, Apple has put an A-series chip, the kind used in iPhones, in a Mac, that lets them make it fanless, extremely efficient, and much more cheaper to produce. It comes in colors like blush, indigo, citrus, and silver, which honestly feels like Apple reaching back to their playful era, like the iBook G3 and the iMac. But the MacBook Neo wasn't the only surprise. The same week, Apple also revealed the iPhone 17e, which is part of the E category that they began last year with the iPhone 16e. And this is where it kinda gets wild, because this phone has the A19 chip, 256GB of storage, Apple's custom C1X modem, and massive features that were initially reserved for the Pro models. Now they're in the budget iPhone. Then there is the iPad Air. Instead of going from M1 to M2 to M3, Apple skipped 2 entire chip generations and went to M4. Same price, but now it supports Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6. And finally, the Apple Watch SE, which has quietly been Apple's entry point to the ecosystem for years. Now, individually, any of this could be just Apple refreshing a product line, but all of them at the same time around the same price point. There seems to be a strategy going on here. So why would Apple, the company built on premium pricing, push towards the budget category? I've been looking into this, and I think I have some 5 reasons that makes this move make perfect sense. And I'm curious what you guys think about this, so leave a comment below and let's get into this. Reason 1, the ecosystem trap. Apple's services business is enormous now. We're talking the iCloud, Apple Music, Apple TV, the Apple Store. Together, the services produce tens of billions of dollars every quarter, and the margins around 76%, which is insane. Because hardware is expensive to make, subscriptions aren't. So hardware isn't really the main product anymore, it's the entry ticket. Every $600 MacBook sold is potentially a new iCloud subscriber, a new Apple Music user, a new Apple Store customer. Apple isn't discounting the devices, they're just discounting the entry fee to the ecosystem. But here's where it gets more interesting, because this isn't just about the money, it's about recovering something Apple lost. Back in the early 2010s, something happened that changed the industry. Chromebooks took over schools. They were cheap, easy to manage, and good enough. Today, Chromebooks hold about 40% of the K-12 education market. Apple is close to 19%, which means an entire generation grew up using Google's ecosystem instead of Apple's. Those students are now entering college and the workforce, and when they want to buy a laptop, they choose what they're familiar with: Windows and Android. So the MacBook Neo is kind of like Apple trying to win back the young schooling people. Apple already has billions of active devices in the world. In the United States alone, Apple controls nearly 70% of the smartphone market. And when it dominates high-end like that, growth doesn't come from going higher. It comes from going wider. Like, the people left in the market aren't premium buyers. They are people who are priced out. So the budget devices are kind of expanding Apple's reach. There's another factor people aren't talking about much. Right now, memory chip prices are rising fast. With the AI servers consuming a huge amount of memory, which drives up cost for everyone else. Most Android manufacturers operate under very thin margins. So if costs rise, the phone prices probably rise too. Apple, on the other hand, has a massive scale. so they can absorb those costs, which creates strange moment where Apple products might actually become cheaper than the competitors. That's a rare window, and Apple seems ready to exploit it. Globally, millions of people want Apple products, but they can't afford them. That's why Apple already dominates the refurbished smartphone market in places like India, Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Africa.
They ask you how you are, you just
People buy used phones just to enter the ecosystem. Now imagine offering a new iPhone with flagship specs for $600. Suddenly, Apple isn't just competing with Samsung, they're competing with every mid-range Android phone on the market. But here's the thing, Apple expanding downwards doesn't mean they're abandoning the high-end. In fact, the opposite might happen. What Apple seems to be building is something called barbell strategy. Cheap on one end, ultra premium on the other, and the middle kind of gets squeezed. So while Apple introduces cheaper devices, they are also rumored to be expanding their ultra lineup, like even more powerful Macs, even more expensive iPhones, possibly entire high-end categories. The cheaper devices brings millions of new users in, while the ultra premium extracts maximum value from the most loyal customers. Now, some people will say Apple has always had cheaper products. And that's technically true. There was the iPod Shuffle, the iPhone 5C, the old white MacBook. Apple has experimented with affordable devices before, but what's different this time is the coordination. This isn't one cheap device. It's Mac, iPhone, iPad, and Watch all launching together, all nearly the same price. And all with seriously powerful technology inside. Apple didn't just lower the price, they also raised the baseline performance. And this is something Apple has never done this scale before. The $600 MacBook and $600 iPhone suggest a shift by Apple from the premium they've always stood for. But still, I don't really think Apple is going cheap. It's going wider, bringing more people into the ecosystem. And that move would reshape the entire industry.